Members, we are back in session. Please come to the floor. We have lots of business in front of us this afternoon. Okay, members, we are going to get moving. We are back on the file. Members, please come to the floor. We're going to start with file item 155. That is AB 840. The clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 840 by Assemblymember Ridley Thomas, an act relating to state employees.
Mr. Ridley Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and colleagues. I rise to present Assembly Bill 840, which will prohibit the rather insidious and discriminatory act of mandatory overtime. Mandatory overtime is a flawed and antiquated practice which this body, the Senate, and the governor have actually banned in the private sector. So if it's good enough for the private sector, it's certainly good enough for the public sector. This would apply to nurses that work in state hospitals and veterans homes, in developmental centers, and the like. We think that it is a smart measure because it actually will save the state money. The use of overtime costs the state in overtime costs as well as in reduced worker productivity, so that we know that the state is doing the best that it can to have decent workplace conditions for its employees, as well as decent outcomes for the services that are provided in such facilities. Services to our veterans, services to the incarcerated population, services to the developmentally disabled. With respect, I would request an aye vote for AB 840 for workplace justice, responsible management and stewardship of state facilities, and the care of our state's most vulnerable population. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Waldron's up. Thank you, Ms. Ridley Thomas. Ms. Waldron.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in support of AB 840. I voted for it in committee. One of the reasons is there's no notice given to the employees when they're working. They could be working a day and going home and then being turned around at the gate that they need to go back to work, and that impacts their family, their child care, and other aspects of their lives. So I urge an aye vote.
Thank you, Ms. Waldron. Seeing no further discussion or debate, the clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll and tally the vote. Ayes 47, noes 15. Measure passes. We are passing temporarily on file item 156. We are moving to file item 157. That's AB 865. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 865 by Assemblymember Alejo and others, an act relating to the State Energy Resources Conservation and Development Commission.
Mr. Alejo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I rise to present AB 865, the Empower California Act, which will drive clean energy investments in underserved communities. This bill will require the California Energy Commission to develop an outreach program to inform, recruit, and increase the engagement with women, minority, disabled veteran, and LGBT-owned businesses, business enterprises. This bill will boost job creation and opportunities for California's minority-owned businesses in the energy industry. This means minority-owned businesses will have an increased opportunities for job growth and a fair chance to obtain contracts with major corporations. As a minority-majority state, diversity in business is vital to California's economy and success. The utility companies that have worked with this program for decades have found that it helps build relationships with diverse communities and improve their procurement of the goods and services they need. California can't reach its energy goals without investing in women, minority, disabled veteran, and LGBT-owned businesses. The Empower California Act will create a more inclusive green economy by encouraging transparency in procurement and leveling the playing field for diverse businesses that may otherwise be overlooked in the clean energy sector. This bill received bipartisan support in the Utilities and Commerce and the Jobs Committee. We have no registered opposition. I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Alejo. Seeing no discussion or debate on this item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. 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 The clerk will close the roll and tally the vote. Ayes 46, noes 13. Measure passes. File item 158, that's AB 874. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 874 by Assemblymember Rendon, an act relating to the Judicial Council.
Mr. Rendon, you may open.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. AB 874 gives Judicial Council employees the ability to organize. The bill amends the DILS Act to confer bargaining rights to these employees by designating Judicial Council as the applicable employer with whom its employees may negotiate over terms of conditions of employment. This bill does not confer civil service status to its employees. It also does not provide for the organization of trial court employees, as they can already organize under current statute. I urge your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Rendon. Seeing no discussion debate on this item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll. Tally the vote. Ayes 43, noes 20. Measure passes. File item 159, that's AB 900. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 900 by Assemblymember Levine and others, an act relating to juveniles.
Mr. Levine, you may open.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. AB 900 seeks to better align state and federal law in order to protect vulnerable, unaccompanied immigrant youth. Specifically, this bill will allow courts to establish guardianships for those youth up to 21 years of age. AB 900 will provide youth a better opportunity to adjust to life in California by allowing them to have an adult guardian. This bill will also help increase access to special immigrant juvenile status. I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Levine. Seeing no discussion debate on this item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the vote. Ayes 46, noes 19. Measure passes. Moving to file item 160, that's AB 904. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 904 by Assemblymember Perea, an act relating to vehicular air pollution.
Mr. Perea.
Mr. Speaker, members, AB 904 would create the Clean Used Vehicle Rebate Project. This bill would provide an incentive for low to middle income Californians who cannot afford a new vehicle to purchase a clean used vehicle by offering them a rebate for the purchase of a clean used vehicle or a replacement battery. Colleagues, this bill is simply just about equity. It's about making sure that all Californians have an opportunity to embrace new technology, emerging technology that is helping clean our air. AB 904 will help get new and used clean vehicles into the hands of the middle class and the working poor. Respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Perea. Mr. Alejo.
Thank you, members. I rise as the chair of the Latino Caucus in support of this bill, which is one of our Latino Caucus priority bills. This bill will give low to moderate income families access to clean vehicles, thereby improving air quality throughout the state. And as some of you know, many communities at the top of the Cal EnviroScreen 2.0 list are predominantly Latino. Being at the top of this list means that they suffer from high unemployment rates and pollution levels. The bill creates a program that will help move these communities into the green economy by directly reaching those who may not be able to purchase a new vehicle. If you want to have a real impact on reducing the pollution burden in Latino and underrepresented communities, we must make clean vehicles accessible to all. I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
With that, the clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the vote. Ayes 52, noes 17. Measure passes. File item 161 has been dispensed with. Moving to file item 162, that's AB 909. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 909 by Assemblymember Quirk and others, an act relating to sexual assault crimes.
Mr. Quirk, you may open.
Thank you, Speaker and members. There are a large number of untested rape kits in California. AB 909 would require local law enforcement, starting in January 1, 2016, to track the number of rape kits collected and documented why some of them are not tested. There will also be an annual report to the legislature starting in 2017. I request your aye vote.
Mr. Quirk. Mr. Lackey, you are recognized.
Yes, Chair and members, just real briefly, I would like to commend my friend from Hayward for bringing this forward. We have a constituent in my district who waited 10 years before her rape kit was processed properly. She now is unable to prosecute the person who stole from her something that is so precious because the statute of limitations has set in. Please support this.
With that, the clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote or desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll and tally the vote. Ayes 66, no 0. Measure passes. Members, we are moving to file item 164. That's AB 986. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 986 by Assemblymember Gibson, an act relating to post-secondary education.
Mr. Gibson, you may open.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker and members. I rise to present AB 986, which seeks to promote accountability at the Compton Community College District, move towards regaining local authority. In 2004, Compton Community College was taken into receivership by a special trustee at the request of the California Community College Chancellor's Office. This removes the powers of the Compton Community College Board of Trustees, who already are locally elected officials representing Compton, Carson, Dominguez, Linwood, Southgate, Paramount, Lakewood, Bellflower, Long Beach, Watts Willowbrook, and Athens. It was initially expected to take about 5 years to return governing authority, and it has taken 11 years to date. As a former city council member, City of Carson, for almost 10 years, I believe the local control and the support to return governing authority back to the hands of the people and the newly elected Board of Trustees that the community voted into office. AB 986 seeks to require the Compton Community College Chancellor's Office to provide a response to the annual audit being conducted that speaks to how the leadership intends to resolve any outstanding issues. The process towards regaining authority of local control has taken far too long. This is a small step, but much more. It's an important step to accountability. I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Ms. Gibson. Mr. Rendon, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Since Compton Community College lost its accreditation over a decade ago, many of the cities in the northern part of my district, including 5 of the cities that the author just mentioned, have been frustrated without a path forward and without concrete steps that will articulate how the district will regain its accreditation and local governing authority. This bill gives the college a clear path to restore local control. I again thank my colleague from Carson for his leadership on this issue, and I urge your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Rendon. Mr. Jones, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Question of the author, please.
Without objection.
Thank you. In the analysis, and this is a serious question, it says that it may be duplicative of AB 318 from 2006 that authorized this process. Can you explain how this is not duplicative and what it does different than the original legislation?
Well, right now, this bill seeks to make sure that under the current law that the Chancellor's Office do what they are expected to do. And right now, there has been no reports given to the community nor to the body as it relates to when an audit is failed, what they intend to do in order to make the provisions and the necessary changes to making sure that the next audit is done appropriately. Right now, there is no plan to date that we can point to that they have made this information public to the community. And I believe, again, Compton Community College will be right now, Compton Community College is the only community college in the state of California that has been in receivership for 11 years. And if it continue on this trajectory, they will be the only college in California that would be in trusteeship or receivership to 2020. And I think it's a travesty that this is taking place. I think it's a travesty that the body, the trustee, have not made a report available to the community regarding their plan to get this community college out of trusteeship.
All debate having ceased, with that, Mr. Gibson, you may close.
Thank you very much, body. I will simply ask when I vote. Again, this is in my district. I believe that the Compton Community College have made great strides, and I think that we need to make sure that our state receiver, the person that's in charge, continue to make sure they live up to the laws and report back to the community on benchmarks and making sure that they have a clear path of success to remove Compton Community College out of trustee. Thank you. I ask when I vote.
Thank you, Mr. Gibson. With that, the clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll and tally the vote. Ayes 63, noes 9. Measure passes. Members, we are going to move back in the file to file item 146. To file item 146, that's AB 561. The clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 561 by Assemblymember Campos, an act relating to agricultural labor relations.
Ms. Campos, you may open.
Mr. Speaker and members, AB 561 is a bill that would help expedite the process for farm workers to recover their fair wages they are rightfully owed. In 1989, farm workers from the Ace Tomato Company voted to have the United Farm Workers represent them. However, Ace Tomato refused to negotiate new employment terms with the United Farm Workers. The Agricultural Labor Relation Board found them at fault, yet could not enforce the order compensation of the farm workers. This exposed many challenges that the Agricultural Labor Relations Board still has to address. In this case, these challenges resulted in 600 farm workers not receiving any back pay or benefits to this day. These types of cases cannot be the standard here in California. AB 561 will help prevent future cases like Ace Tomato. It will do this by establishing a mechanism for organized farm workers to recover back wages and benefits in a fair and speedy manner. It would do this through a twofold approach. First, it would require employers to post a bond in the amount decided by the Agricultural Labor Relations Board before they start the appeal process. That way, the money would be immediately available for the workers if the employer loses the appeal. Second, it would require the Agricultural Labor Relations Board to come to a decision within 1 year of the ALRB finding liability for benefits. Here in California, we enacted the Agricultural Labor Relations Act because we wanted to ensure that California farm workers enjoy justice when working in the context of our unique state. Let us continue that mission and move forward. And members, I am hoping that as this bill moves forward to the Senate, that I can have further discussions with the other interest and continue to make this a better bill. Thank you, and I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Ms. Campos. Ms. Grove, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in opposition to this bill. Not only does it eliminate the due process rights for employers, especially in our farming community, but you're entrusting the ALRB, the Agricultural Labor Relations Board, with decisions that, if you look in what's going on in the media and the court cases that have just came down, that the ALRB isn't the independent, agency that's supposed to be bipartisan or impartial. It's actually favoring the UFW, and with all the court cases, like I said, and the court cases and everything that's coming down in the media that's going on, especially with the ALRB and the UFW and all the conflicts that are arising through that organization, to put more weight or benefit into their decisions at this period in time is just not very wise. And so I would ask for a no vote.
Mr. Gray, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, question to the author.
Without objection.
I have some reservations regarding the bill as currently written, specifically if it's going to go beyond the scope of back wages. I think it's entirely appropriate that farm workers are made whole, but I'd like to see the bill reduce its scope to ensure that we're just dealing with back wages, not additional penalties, not going beyond that. And as currently written, I think that may be a challenge. I heard you mention that you're willing or in the process of working with the opposition. I'd certainly like a commitment that you're going to ensure that the bill doesn't go beyond that scope.
To address the member that just spoke, thank you for the question, and I appreciate that. You're right, I did mention in my closing that I'm working to continue to make this a bill that can be much more inclusive. And I will be working to take amendments so that the language would address to make whole the remedy only as we move forward for the farm workers. So thank you for the question. So the answer is yes.
On my own time, with that commitment, I will support the bill today with the understanding that we're going to work to reduce that scope. Thank you.
With that, the clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. 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 Clerk will close the roll. Tally the vote. Ayes 41, noes 27. Measure passes. Members moving up in the file item 165. That's AB 1010. The clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 1010 by Assemblymember Medina, an act relating to community colleges.
Mr. Medina, you may open.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. AB 1010 would allow part-time temporary faculty the ability to negotiate hiring policies, including evaluation procedures, maintenance of a seniority list, and placement on that list for assignments. AB 1010 creates stability for part-time temporary faculty and the students they serve. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Medina. Seeing no discussion or debate on this item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll and tally the vote. Ayes 50, noes 25. Measure passes. File item 166, that's AB 1066. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 1066 by Assemblymember Gonzalez, an act relating to classified employees.
Ms. Gonzalez, you may open.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, AB 1066 will prevent school districts and community colleges from using the same short-term employees on a continual year-to-year basis in order to prevent providing them with the classification they deserve as permanent employees. Decades ago, the legislature agreed that non-academic staff at community colleges and school districts must be considered classified employees. However, many workers in the state have been hired on a short-term status year after year, preventing them from earning equal pay, retirement benefits, holiday pay, vacation time, due process rights, and other essential benefits that classified employees normally receive. Many of these workers perform the exact same jobs as permanent employees with identical duties, yet they earn substantially less pay and get zero benefits. This bill will close this loophole and ensure proper classification of these education workers. I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. Seeing no discussion or debate on this item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll and tally the vote. Ayes 51, noes 23. Measure passes. File item 167, AB 1239. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 1239 by Assemblymember Gordon and others, an act relating to tire recycling.
Mr. Gordon, you may open.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Californians generate 42 million used passenger tires every single year, and the management of these tires has proven difficult. Illegally dumped tires pose a significant cost to local governments in the state. Large abandoned tire piles have resulted in week-long fires, and the overall recycling rate has remained largely stagnant. In order to drastically increase tire recycling, in addition to the intrinsic environmental and economic benefits of recovering this material, CalRecycle recently recommended that the legislature implement an expanded incentive program that produces payments for desired end uses of tires. AB 1239 will establish a tire recycling incentive program to provide an incentive payment to end users of recycled tires, including local governments that use these tires as rubberized pavement. AB 1239 also gives CalRecycle the authority to increase the state tire fee to cover the cost of regulating waste tires. Existing California-based manufacturers of rubber products could be utilizing these waste tires by recycling them, thereby reducing pollution, illegal dumping, and waste, all while increasing jobs and economic opportunity right here in California. On behalf of my joint author, Speaker Atkins, and myself, we respectfully request an aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. Seeing no discussion or debate on this item, the clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll. Tally the vote. Ayes 46, noes 25. Measure passes. File items 168 through 170 pass and retain. Moving to file item 171, that's AB 1287. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 1287 by Assemblymember David Chu, an act relating to vehicles.
Members, we are going to pass temporarily. I'm sorry, members. 171, 1287. Mr. David Chu, you may open on the measure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and colleagues. AB 1287 is a district bill to reauthorize and improve San Francisco's toll program, which was first authorized by this legislature in 2007 and then reauthorized in 2011 by District Bills AB 101 and AB 1041, authored by current Board of Equalization member and then Assemblyperson Fiona Ma of San Francisco. San Francisco's transit-only lane enforcement program has helped us to address some of the most congested and dangerous streets in our state, which are in our district. This is a bill strongly supported by San Francisco's mayor, our entire Board of Supervisors, and our transit community and pedestrian advocates. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chu. Seeing no discussion or debate on this item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. 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 Mr. Chu moves a call.